Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. Keep going, Charlie. Keep going down, 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 down. Charlie's going. That'll be good right there, Charlie. Appreciate that. Charlie adjusting the volume of my headphones. And it's not that I'm such a prima donna. I can't adjust my own headphones. But where I'm sitting right now, it would be a little bit awkward to reach across the counter, the table, and do that, especially while I'm on camera doing a live stream. And, you know, I want to give my best side to the camera, of course. Anyway, my friends, welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show. So glad to have you along with us. What can we say? What can we say right now? We've got to talk about the weather. I mean, come on. As we're sitting here in the studio right now, midweek, recording the show, it's been brutal. We've got a snowstorm going on outside right now. But looking at the forecast, it's going to get even colder. Man, I was joking around the other day. I'm starting to feel like it's 1978 all over again, although we don't have nearly the amount of snow. Now, I grew up on the west side of the state. 1978, I was at Ferris at the time, State College, now Ferris State University. Go Dogs. And man, did we get snow. I mean, they closed 131. We were dragging toboggans down 131 to get to the beer store. We don't have that much snow, but it sure is cold. And I guess the good news is, if you're an ice angler, it's been making some ice. Inland lakes. My buddy Lanny, we had a little get-together at the house last weekend. Lanny and Chris and Doug and Wendy came over, and Lanny lives on a north-central Michigan inland lake, and he had been out ice fishing earlier in the day. He told me, this is last week, they had 2 feet of ice on the lake in front of his house. And more now, I'm sure. So, the inland lakes are just locked in tight. Bigger water, Saginaw Bay. Boy, by the time you're hearing this show this weekend, I would suspect, and, don't take my word for it, and we'll talk about this more in just a few minutes here on the show, always check the ice conditions and check them yourself as you're heading out. But I would suspect by this weekend they'll be out in force on Saginaw Bay. I say they, not me, they. But there is, some small glimmer of hope on the horizon. Have you noticed the days are getting longer? Yeah. They're cold, but they're getting longer. So it's a small step in the right direction. By the time you hear this, the DNR will have announced the winners of the Pure Michigan Hunt. And I'm just assuming, as I have right from the start, that my name was drawn. They will be Mike A, 1480, or Charlie Rude, or Charlie R, whatever the last 4 of his social numbers are, or his phone number is. Because Charlie, being the guy that he is, just the sweetheart of a guy, for Christmas, he bought me several chances for the Pure Michigan Hunt. So between what Charlie bought, and he said if he wins, he's gonna give it to me. You got to watch Charlie, though. If he actually does win and gets a better offer from somebody else, he might sell those to somebody else. So, but between Charlie's chances and my chances, I just know that I won the Pure Michigan Hunt. If I didn't, there was a mistake. And I'm going to have to talk to the folks at the Michigan DNR. I had made a post earlier in the week about Pure Michigan Hunt coming up, And, you know, it never ceases to amaze me, the negativity that's out there. Some people, you wake up in the morning and you hate the world? Is that the way your mind works? Okay, I'm going to get up this morning, I'm going to look around, I'm going to see what's here, and I'm going to be negative about everything. I'm going to hate everything. There's nothing positive. My world stinks. I'm miserable. Everybody's out to get me. Is that the way you look at the world? If so, I really feel sorry for you. And I'll use the Pure Michigan hunt as an illustration of that. DNR charges $5 to apply for the Pure Michigan hunt. It's not like they're asking you to refinance your house. It's not like you're making a truck payment or anything like that. It's $5. Okay? If you dislike the concept, and I'll go back. The way the Pure Michigan hunt works is for $5, you apply and you get one chance at the Pure Michigan hunt. If you win, and I did, if you win, you get a bull elk tag any season. A bull elk tag. Now, is that alone not worth $5 to take a chance on? I think that it is. Then you get a bear tag. An all season, any area Michigan bear tag. And then you get a turkey tag, you get some waterfowl tags, you get some hunting gear. It's a really nice prize. I've said before, and I'll stick to this, if I win, or when I win, or actually I did win, I'll take the bull elk tag, I'll take the bear tag, I will donate the turkey and waterfowl hunts to a charity, a veterans charity, so they can use those to make money, and I will donate the gear as well, so folks can use that to make money. I'm only interested in the bear tag and the elk tag, but I think that's worth $5 for sure. You know, if you hate the DNR so much, and you think they're just trying to get your money, then don't do it. Don't apply. If at your core you are so negative and detest everything going on in the world of hunting and fishing today, then just don't participate. Don't give them your money. Not that big a deal. It's not brain surgery. If you don't like it, don't do it. But then don't, and here's another thing, then don't come on my social media outlets, in particular Facebook. I see this is worse on Facebook than anywhere. Don't expect to come on my Facebook page and gripe about everything in the world. I mean, if you have legitimate concerns, yeah, fine, you know. But just negativity for the sake of being negative or chastising fellow hunters or anglers or, you know, we've talked about this before. Don't come to my page. Well, yeah, but I have the right to express myself. It's guaranteed in the Constitution. No, the Constitution does not guarantee the right to come on my social media pages and bash other people or me. So don't expect to have that happen. Some things coming up. February 7th, there is a fundraiser in Bay County for Brian's House. That is a facility. That's an end-of-life facility. I'm not putting this on. I'm helping them because my dad was in a hospice on the west side of the state for a week at the end of his life here on Earth, and I saw what good those events do. So if I can help out, I am. That's coming up Saturday the 7th. The weekend of February 21st, 22nd, the MUCC convention is in Novi in conjunction with Outdoorama. This will be a very interesting convention. I think we'll get a better sense for where MUCC is heading. Then when we get into March, Saturday, March 7th, the big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. That is at the Great Hall in Midland. Tickets on sale at one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor. Live auction, silent auction, online auction, gun raffles. I mean, there's so many wonderful events, so many wonderful auction items. I appreciate everybody who has donated to help make that a success. Before it, you know, we look, we've done 8 of them now, right? So we know that it takes a lot of people and a lot of donations from supporters, and we're seeing that. So thank you so very much. And then the next morning, bright and early the next morning, because I'm usually wrecked that next day, my wife Denise and I are jumping on an airplane to go to Florida to watch my granddaughter Addison play softball for a week. But then I come right back and I go to Reese for the Reese Adventure Club. I have to speak there. So it's going to be a busy several weeks, but you know what? It's going to help me get through the rest of winter to get into springtime. You know this by now. I'm not a fan of winter. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show after the break, Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters out of Linwood Beach Marina will join me to talk about Saginaw Bay ice fishing. Then Dan Ulfig from the Michigan Wildlife Council. In our second hour, Joe Velchansky, who is the president of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, talks about trapping, the role of trappers, how to get involved, what's involved. And then Merl Jones, also of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, but he's wearing a different hat and talking about year-round coyote hunting. And in our third hour, we'll continue on the hunting theme with Rick Hobbs of the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association, talking about wintertime squirrel hunting. Now, when I was a kid growing up, we didn't have wintertime squirrel hunting. We do now, and you can hunt them with dogs. We'll talk to Rick about that. And wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner will wrap it all up with a walleye recipe that I have video of once again, and I will be posting that online. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. Let me know what's on your mind. What do you like? What do you don't like? Share your pictures, your comments, your videos. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Jason Graham coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sandusky on WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Southwest Michigan on WSJM, in St. Joe, 94.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux, WKNW 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your mid-Michigan Angler Quest headquarters. I love Linwood Beach. I love for one, they're in a great spot. They're on the shore of Saginaw Bay, the west shore of Saginaw Bay. If you're in Linwood, go east down Linwood Road until you hit Linwood Beach Marina, turn right, and there you are. Great facilities, great people, great location, great knowledge base, great service. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Now, following up on that, one of the people at Linwood Beach that I have so much respect for is Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters. His website, senditcharters.com. And again, Linwood Beach is linwoodbeachmarina.com. Jason is one of those guys that is able to look at a day on the water or on the ice and dissect it like I don't have the ability to do that, and I am very, I don't want to say jealous. I am very, I have much respect for people who can do that. He's with us now, by the way, on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Cap, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing good. I got to believe, now we are recording this show midweek. It's been cold. The forecast looks even more cold. I always tell people, check the ice conditions. Don't take Avery as your source. But I got to believe by this weekend, there's going to be some people out there on the ice, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so, but I also know it's not quite ready yet. We had open water. Keep in mind we're filming or we're airing this a couple days earlier or taping a couple days early. But 4 days ago, I could see open water from the marina, so we could see waves. We had a gale warning come through at the beginning of the week. Had some open water that opened up. You could see the whitecaps from here from shore. That is now froze over, so we're lucky there. But it's going to take a little bit of time. Light winds, no snow on top to get that ice to form up solid. There'll be some good solid shore ice. You get the 2-3 foot of water, give or take. Some perch fishermen are doing pretty good around the area. But to get out to the walleye grounds to hit more than 10 foot of water, it's still going to be another week, I think, before we can actually be safe and not have to worry quite as much as we do now.
Every year, though, people want to push it. They can't wait. It's like to heck with being safe. I need to get out there because there's a walleye out there. There's no walleye in the world worth going out there when it's not safe. At least I don't think so.
I don't think so either. That is correct. We can catch a bunch of them in the summertime when it's the weather's nice and the boats are out, but it's not worth falling through, losing your equipment, losing a life, losing a family member based on just because you want to go fishing.
My frame of reference with Saginaw Bay is summertime. I love to be out there trolling in the summertime. I don't go out there in the wintertime. Last year I was out there one time, and I kind of enjoyed it. I might go out one time this year. But tell me then, Jason, what is the appeal? Why do so many people just salivate at the thought of getting out there on the ice in the wintertime on Saginaw Bay?
One of the main things is it's less expensive than owning a boat. You can walk out. A lot of people have snowmobiles. They have quads and stuff. They don't have to use much. It's a less expensive way to entertain and still go fishing. You can do walkouts and get on the shoreline. It might be a 2 or 3 mile walk, but the expense is a lot less than it would be to have a boat and a motor and gas and trolling motor batteries and that kind of thing to get out and enjoy in the summertime. The other part about it is everybody has some free time. There's not much to do. It's cold out. There's no ball games. There's no soccer practice. No softball games to go to. It's just a lot more free time for the public to get out and ice fish.
You talk about the expense, and I agree completely. But when I see some of the rigs people are taking out there, I'm like, man, they got a ton of money tied up in their ice fishing rigs these days. The hardcore anglers do.
That is correct. Yeah, there's lots of things. There's amphibious vehicles now, the wheelcraft. It's a boat that has wheels on it that floats. There's jet boats and airboats and things like that now that can go across thin ice and get out to different bodies of water. And they'll take the expense to be able to do, when the ice isn't fully safe to stand on, they can stand those type of vessels and actually fish out of them on thinner ice and get more out of the season. And keep in mind, those guys are also the guys that have the bigger boats as well. So
they got it covered on both ends.
That's correct.
So are you more likely to get into big fish in the wintertime?
Yes. Keep in mind, these fish, they spent their summers on deeper water. They've spent their fall coming in to chase the shad into the spawning areas or chase the perch in. And these fish are healthy. They're big. They're getting ready to spawn here in the spring. So the larger females and the larger males are here to do their thing as soon as the ice breaks and do their spawning in the spring. They're putting the feed bags on. The meals now they're biting are bigger perch, bigger shads, things like that. The water's cold, so they're having bigger meals when they do eat.
I had DNR fisheries biologist Jeff Jolly on the show last week, and we were talking about Saginaw Bay walleye fishery and how, back in the early days when the fishery was reestablished, man, the size fish that we used to catch routinely were so much bigger than what they are today. Is that a disappointment? Do you have any thoughts on that at all, Jason?
Yes and no. I mean, keep in mind, back in the day, we didn't have the technology we have. We didn't have electronics. People weren't venturing out quite as far. The rods, reels, the baits, the tackle, everything's got more advanced over the years. We also had dirty water. So people were kind of, the dirty water helped those fish. The bait was abundant for them. More pollution and stuff in the water. The zebra mussels have cleaned the lakes up, clearer water. Snow have the spooky effect where the fish tend to shy away from the boat just a little bit. There's lots of variables to that, but as far as the big fish in this, Lake Erie is still known for big fish. There's a bunch of them down there in both ends of the lake, depending on what time of season is. Saginaw Bay kind of has that same effect. We don't have nearly as many, but we're also not as big a water either. We are a shallow little pond compared to Lake Erie fish as far as our end of the lake.
You talk about clean water. When I see situations like that in the summertime, it's like, man, if I can see bottom, fish can see me too. So that creates its own interesting set of conditions. But what about ice fishing? I mean, water routinely in the wintertime does get to be crystal clear. And you look down that hole and you can see everything. But you are protected from the fish by ice. Does that help us in that situation?
It does. In the face of that shadow, keep in mind in the summertime we like that. That just after daylight and then just before dark, those time in the areas where the sun's shaded down, the sun's not high in the sky. In the summertime, those fish are feeding all day long. Wintertime's a whole different story. These fish are still moving. The biggest difference is we're stationary. We're sitting in an 8 or 10 inch hole trying to have that fish come to us every single bite we get. In a trolling situation, we're moving all day long and going to the fish. They might move, a little 100-yard stretch here and there, but we move to find those fish. In the wintertime, we're stationary. Sitting on a bigger spread with tip-ups around the shanty, stuff like that will help you find those fish a little faster. But, keep in mind the fish have to come to us, whether it be a rattle bait or a noise bait or a vibration bait or the shininess of a bait. Those kind of things help both those fish bring it to the hole you're actually fishing out of.
I think that's one of the things that I'm going to say maybe frustrates me about ice fishing is the lack of mobility. Because in the summertime, as you say, if you think you need to move, you just point your boat that direction and move.
Yep.
You can't do that, at least not as easily on the ice. How long will you give a spot, Jason, on the ice before you pick up and move?
It depends on the day, depends on the winds, things like that. Typically, if I set up in the morning, and typically my day works out as I try to start shallow in the morning. A lot of those fish will move up on the banks along the whole edges of Saginaw Bay, whether it's our shore, south shore, east shore. They'll feed up on those flats, chasing the bait, pinning them towards the weed edges, things like that. And I'll probably give that till 9, 10 o'clock. If the fish are still biting and we're close to getting our limits, we'll stick around and stay. As those fish feed, they work their way back out to their deeper areas. It might be from an 8-foot flat we fished in the morning to a 15-foot break in the afternoon. Or I might go as far as 20 foot deep, because those fish will tend to bite all day long in a deeper area. The difference being is a 3 or 4 mile stonebill ride or a 12 or 15 mile stonebill ride throughout the day. So if I can go out there 3-4 miles and have a good action bite where I've got 4 hours of good action in the morning, maybe have a little lunch in the midday and just kind of watch tip-ups for a bit, and we'll settle in for the afternoon bite, and we'll stay right there. Based on all that, keep in mind is we have the same type of network with the captains that I work with in the summertime. Most of those same captains do ice fish. So we make phone calls, we send text. We all keep in intact throughout the day. How's your area? What are you doing? And a lot of times we'll talk in the morning. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go over here. We'll meet up and we'll talk about 9 o'clock until the bite's going. And maybe one of us will have to move to get all of our customers involved in fish throughout the day.
Yeah. Weekend warriors, recreational fishermen can do the same thing. It really pays to have a network, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
You mentioned wind. Now, I get how wind affects us as summertime anglers. What about in the wintertime? I mean, the water's covered with ice. How does wind affect things, Jason?
Well, it'll affect the currents. If the river still has a little flow to it, it'll force that river to flow a little faster, which brings water and nutrients out of the river into the Bay Area. If we're, 10 miles from the river mouth of any type, you probably won't see it. But there are times where west wind and, east wind, the fish bite the least conversation we always talked about as kids.
Yeah.
That comes into play as well. I'm not buying into that. It just moves the fish a little different. That's how I look at it. But the wind will affect the fish the way they bite, the way their action is. Maybe it'll be a later bite or an earlier bite, and they'll calm down throughout the day. Because also know that the weather, in fact, will change the whole aspect of how the fishery is, whether it's a hard wind day, barometric pressure, sunny skies, cloudy days, things like that. It all has an effect, even when there's ice cover on the lake.
And you mentioned weeds. Do you see weeds on the bottom in the wintertime through the ice?
Yeah, the weeds that are high up in the water columns throughout the summer, they're actually growing towards the sunlight just like a corn field does. As the ice covers and the water gets cold, those weeds will fall, but they won't fall all the way flat to the bottom. They'll stick up here and there. They might be 2 foot deep or a foot deep. Those weed edges still hold those fish like they did in the summertime. They're just not nearly as tall. And the walleye, the bass, the perch, all those fish that are in the area will actually use that as an ambush point for their bait fish and pin them against those weed edges, just like you would in the summertime.
So if you find a weed edge, will you set up and fish right over that edge?
I will, absolutely. Especially if I find a good deep wet weed edge, it's even better because that's the first ones they're going to hit. As they get closer toward shore, the weeds will get more abundant in areas. But if you have a good hard rock bottom and stuff, you're not going to have weeds. So you have to be careful as far as how big that weed edge is, where it's located, if it's on a point or a break, things like that. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a tip up in that area and use it as for surveillance and set up outside of it and do my jigging outside of that area. If the tip up gets several flags, there's a chance I'll put a shanty there and actually jig that edge instead. Hang
tight, Jason. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. But when we come back, I want to follow up on this concept of using tip-ups for walleye for Saginaw Bay ice. We're talking with Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters out of Linwood Beach Marina. His website is senditcharters.com, senditcharters.com. And the website for Linwood Beach is linwoodbeachmarina.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, more with Jason about ice, Saginaw Bay ice. He said we're recording this midweek. He says right now and for the next few days, give it some time. I guess that's the best advice. Give it some time. Although we know a lot of people won't. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK 105.7 FM. You can hear us in, let's go to Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM, and then north of the bridge to Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Truck Trolley. You don't need an old man stick anymore. You don't need the old man stick to lean across your tailgate and reach up into the very front of the bed of your truck and grab whatever slid up there and back so you can reach it. Just get yourself a truck trolley. You put it in the back of your truck. It's strapped in. It's held in there with nylon straps. It's not bolted in. It's not permanent, but it is so very effective on allowing you access to your entire truck bed. And if you decide you want to haul sand or gravel or whatever, you just take it out. So sweet, Michigan-based, family-owned. Check them out online, trucktrolley.com. That's trucktrolley.com. While you are online, jump over to senditcharters.com. That's the website of Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters. Jason fishes Saginaw Bay in the summertime for spring, summer, winter, and fall. But right now we're talking about ice fishing. And Jason, we need to talk about this again. I don't want to say being safe because that sounds so condescending, but not being stupid when you go out on the ice of Saginaw Bay, right?
Absolutely.
And for the folks coming in from out of town, I mean, how do you gauge this? How do you get this information?
Well, a lot of it is we have, a lot of people that stop in here, they go out, we can see with binoculars that people are getting out, checking the ice, that kind of thing. Before I give an ice report, I actually check it myself. I won't take a report from anybody as far as verbal. I will go out and check the ice myself as far as how far I can walk out, how far I can ride a sled out, engage it based on open water conversations. An airborne angler, Martin Zaliga, one of our great friends that help us out as well. With their airborne angler reports, you can see it online, see it on Facebook, keeps us posted on a weekly basis on how that ice is forming, the bad spots, those kind of things to stay away from. Great interest as well and great help for anybody that's even out-of-towners, let alone the locals. It's a great piece of information to help us out as far as giving gauges and that kind of thing where safe place actually is. Absolutely.
And then how do your trips work? Is everybody running a sled or some people run quads or what?
On my bookings that I do, I run 2 snowmobiles and they're both 2-up sleds, so I can have myself plus 3 customers. I have 2 flip-over shanties and all the equipment. Both shanties have live scope. Both shanties have heaters, all the equipment, the rods, the reels, the gear. You bring your own warm gear, the equipment, and everything else is furnished by me. I have safety equipment and a couple of safety items I'll mention that's a must-have on my sleds. I have a throw bag, a 50-foot throw bag with rope in it. A little throw bag that Frank's Great Outdoors carries them. It's a HT Marine makes them. Mm-hmm. It's a rope in a little bag. As you throw that rope out, you can throw anywhere. I actually put my throw rings off my boat on those, and both my sleds have them. By chance a sled will go under or a person will fall off, I can take that throw ring and get anybody out of the water I have to. The other big piece of safety equipment I have is my old flares. Most people have no idea what to do with the old boat flares I have that are outdated. Well, I put them in my sleds, and by chance something happens on the ice, you run out of gas, no power. That flare can be seen from all the shorelines all the way around. It's a good way to have extra safety. And people will see the headlights coming off the water, but they see the orange flare, the red flare light. They can actually sense that there's actually somebody in danger out there.
Ah, that's a great idea. Great idea. Do you offer follow-out trips? Like if somebody's got their own sled, I know some of the captains are doing that. Is that something you offer?
I do offer that as well. One thing I ask is when I talk to my customers for follow-out, you have to be bay ready. You can't look like the Grinch that stole Christmas. You can't have 15 feet of stuff on a little tiny sled that's going to tip over, and we can only go 3 miles an hour and ride. Have to have your sleds, in check, everything in place, your headlights, your stickers, all those kind of things. You have to have a tow bar type sled behind your machine based on a tow rope doesn't cut it anymore. We hit the bumps, we hit the cracks, the heaves, that kind of stuff. We break ropes all the time, break sleds. Ice ready, Saginaw Bay ice ready. It's a whole lot different than pulling something on Houghton Lake or Higgins Lake, things like that. We don't have to go a couple hundred yards. You're good to go. But yes, I do have a follow-out to bring your own equipment. I'll do a semi-guided hunt, I'm saying hunting now. It's fishing season, not hunting season. But get the guys on the ice, get them on the locations, let them know I'm catching them, things like that as well. What tackle, what baits, what to have, but basically have the same safety equipment that I have. One thing I ask is as we all go out, We all come in at the same time.
Absolutely.
So,
hey, real quick,
follow out. Go ahead.
I got to interrupt because I do want to talk about tip-ups real quick before I let you go. Describe to me how you're setting these tip-ups. Are you putting live minnows on them? Are you hooking them through the back? Are the minnows swimming? Is it just off the bottom, or are they like basically dead sticks laying on the bottom?
I run both, and I let the fish tell me what dictate how they want to bite. If they want to, I'll do one with a dead stick. I'll do one without. So if I'm setting 4 tip-ups out, I have 2 one way and 2 the other. And I typically have mine 2 to 3 feet off the bottom. Let these fish feed up, and I'll put a couple dead sticks on the bottom. I'll do both ways. As they get action throughout the day, I'll change the other 2 tip-ups to make them match.
And how effective are these? Do you catch fish on tip-ups every day out there?
Not every day, no. But it's an extra rod. It also gives you a way to, you see a flag away, it's excited. I remember as a kid, you jump up, you run for a tip-up. It gets you a reason to get out of your shanty, stretch your legs, you don't get all cramped up. Get the fumes out of the shanty from all the exhaust you're getting from the heaters and stuff like that. It's an extra couple rods in the water, a little excitement, and then it also goes, handshaking and high-fiving, and it's a big fish that we never would have caught jigging per se, or vice versa.
Definitely worth the effort. Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters, appreciate your time. Good luck this season. I'll be following you online, and I'd encourage people to check you out at senditcharters.com, senditcharters.com. Jason, keep up the good work. We'll be in touch.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
All right. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, I want to check in with another good guy, Dan Ulfig of the Michigan Wildlife Council, with an update on their Here for Generations campaign. And then in the second hour this week, we're going to talk a little trapping, a little predator hunting, and in hour number 3, wintertime squirrel hunting and more on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Carroll on 2 stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC AM and FM 1450 AM and 99.7 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of expensive hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set, snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern in less than a minute? Certainly no more than a couple of minutes. Check them out online at versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. I have made no secret of my partnership with certain organizations, certain groups, certain people. I think it's important in today's world that we as outdoorsmen and women be involved. And I know that goes against our grain because we don't like to join. We don't like to be active. We don't like to support. Just leave us alone and let us do our thing. I don't think that's a viable option in today's world. So a few years ago, I partnered with MUCC, still continue to support MUCC, their mission and the people there. And the other group that I really put my support behind is the Michigan Wildlife Council and their Here for Generations campaign. Dan Ulfig is a member of the Michigan Wildlife Council, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Dan, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, the Michigan Wildlife Council, we're protecting Michigan's outdoor legacy. Hunting and fishing license sales ensure and protect Michigan's outdoor heritage. So there you go. There you have it. We've got a good campaign going.
Okay, end of discussion. Talk to you next time. All right, so for folks who don't know, Dan, how are you reaching people, and what does the campaign look like?
So Michigan Wildlife Council is continuously putting the message out there through social media, billboards, radio spots, etc. We're polishing the image of anglers and hunters as the true stewards of Michigan's outdoor legacy. I mean, that's the grease that runs the boat. So if you're a hunter or an angler in Michigan, you should be dang proud because our license fees are nature's lifeblood. We boost Michigan's economy by $10 million annually. Hunters and anglers support 171,000 Michigan jobs, 171,000. And we contribute $95 million annually for wildlife conservation through license fees, related equipment purchases, and this is all to protect our water and woods. So if you're a hunter and angler, pat yourself on the back because you're the one driving this through your license habits.
And it's an easy story for the Michigan Wildlife Council to tell because it's factual, it's fact-based, it's true. There's no denying it. What you're saying is definitely true. But for a lot of years, it didn't get the positive attention that you folks are putting on it now.
Correct, because Michigan hunters and anglers had a image that wasn't authentic. It was from maybe Elmer Fudd. I don't know where it came from, but they're all good people, and they're supporting everything out there that we all know and love. So, well, you bring up
an interesting point. You're talking about Elmer Fudd. Yep, I get what you're saying, and kind of along that line, but to take it the next step further. As much as I loved Walt Disney when I was a kid growing up, Walt Disney hasn't created very realistic scenario of wildlife either. So the images that the non-hunters and anglers have and grew up with, they just, they need groups like the Michigan Wildlife Council to help skew them back in the right direction.
Exactly, and that's what our campaign is intended to do, to put the authentic image out there, with the emphasis on soothing sounds and calming effects in our ads and their benefits of a quiet time in nature. That's benefits that you get is a reset, a reconnect, a positive vibe. So,
and we're
that's
seeing,
what we're trying to present.
And you are, and we're seeing now hunters and anglers in those ads and on those billboards. Which, when I learned of that slight change in direction, it made me very excited because I think number one, it's a great move, but it also then helps to bring the hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers into this campaign because we can see ourselves there now and we know, okay, we are now being represented and put out there in a positive light.
And that was the intention. It's a polished campaign. You're going to see a lot nicer stuff coming out, a lot of nice things coming out, and it's very well done. I mean, it's a well done campaign that projects hunters and anglers in a positive light, as it should.
As it should, because we're good people, Dan.
Correct. You and I both know it, brother.
All right, Dan Ulfig, appreciate your time. Keep up the good work on the Michigan Wildlife Council and all of the activities you're involved in. The website for the Michigan Wildlife Council is hereformioutdoors.org. That's hereformioutdoors.org. Michigan Wildlife Council doing a great job. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back in our second hour, Joe Velchansky of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association. I want to talk with him about the role of trappers in Michigan today, also about a recent trip that he took. He's so far into the trapping world that he just spent 2 weeks out in Kansas trapping out there. I want to talk with him about what that experience is like out there. Now, I have whitetail hunted in Kansas several times. It's a very interesting state, but what is the trapping experience like out there? And what is the trapping in Michigan like today? I mean, why do we need trappers? Why do people still do it? I have some very, very strong thoughts on trapping. And then Merl Jones, also of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, but Merle's looking at things from a different perspective. Joe's a trapper. Merl is a predator caller, a predator hunter. I want to talk to him about the NRC's decision to finally allow year-round coyote hunting in our state. And then this week's Ask Avery question deals with, all right, if you are a convicted felon, can you hunt with a gun at all in Michigan?
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. 2026 marks my 45th year in broadcasting. And I was telling a buddy of mine, Lanny, I just made a casual observation. He said, you'd think by now you'd be better at it. Lanny. Welcome, my friends, to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I do believe the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local radio station, your local AM or FM station across this great state of Michigan. If you can't, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, it is nice to know that there's a podcast version of the radio show that is available. Now, the podcast is exactly the same content. It's the same show. It's just you hear it somewhere other than your local radio station. And again, I look at the podcast as a backup to your local radio station. If you do decide you need to listen to the podcast, you can hear it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page, and all of the usual podcasting outlets, venues, whatever you want to call them, Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, yada, 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 yada. I do like podcasting, though. I think it's a great form of communication these days, probably the fastest growing form of communication, because it's so easy. If you have a story to tell, or if you have a passion, or if you have a cause, you can do a podcast. You could use your phone to do a podcast. It doesn't take a lot of money, and you don't have to be sophisticated. And along that line, I do podcasts each month for my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle, Killer Food Plots, and Angler Quest Boats, Angler Quest Pontoons. And when we're done recording this week's radio show here in the studio, we will record this month's Angler Quest podcast with Mr. Angler Quest himself, Brad Dupuis, so keep an ear out for that. Regardless of how you're listening, when you're listening, the broadcast version of podcast, thank you so very much. I wouldn't be able to do this as long as I have without your support, and it means a lot to me. When I look at the outdoor scene here in Michigan, you know, there are things that come and go and new concerns that pop up, and, you know, the scene is always changing, but there are some things that just have not changed. I'm thinking right now of trapping. You know, much of Michigan and much of our country was originally explored and mapped by trappers. My dad, when I was a kid, was a trapper. I remember gangs of muskrat traps, you know, hanging out there in the shed. I have much respect for trappers. Think about this. If you are a hunter, say you're a deer hunter, you need to get a deer within, what, a couple hundred yards, and you can make a shot. If you're a bow hunter, you need to get within, what, 30 yards, and you can make a shot. But a trapper needs to get a critter to step in a 2 by 2 inch pan or swim through a 6 by 6 inch square. Now, that is real skill. I think trappers are the most knowledgeable outdoorsmen and women that we have in our state today, and I have much respect for those people, including Joe Velchansky, who is the president of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Joe, welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Mike.
Listen, you just got back from an adventure out in Kansas. You were out there trapping. Tell me about that and how that compares to here in Michigan.
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you said adventure. Number one, we have a lot of people, are envious. I shouldn't say envious, but they want to do what we're doing, and going out of state trapping. For us, it's not about the numbers; it's the adventure. And it really is. You know, we have plenty of coyotes in Michigan. We have bobcats in Michigan. We have raccoons, but so does Kansas. They just happen to have a little bit more of them. But what it's like out there, where we're at, I'm not going to give the exact location, but we're in north central Kansas. It's anything that it's nothing that you can imagine. When you hear Kansas, people want to imagine flat, open areas, but we're in rolling hills, not very big tree populations. It's the trees are in the draws, in the valleys, in the ditches, but most of it is rolling prairie grass, pasture lands, and croplands. They do crops down there, corn and beans mostly, I believe, but it's a different world trapping there than it is here in Michigan. I live in central Michigan, and I trap farmlands around my place here. And most of the farms that I trap or properties are what I would call smaller, 80 acres, maybe 160 acres, 40 acres. But down there where we trap, these people own sections. I've got a section over here, 640 acres, Mike. Or I've got a half a section over here. You can trap my brother's place. He owns a section over here, and it's a different world down there. It's very, very open, very. It's just a different terrain. The soil is different. Everything is different, but there is a high population of coyotes down there, high population of bobcats, and raccoons, and of course possums too. So it's a different world for sure.
When we used to whitetail hunt out there, saw a lot of coyotes, surprising number of bobcats, and something I don't think you trap, but armadillos I'd never seen till there, and then badgers. Do you trap badgers out there? Are badgers fair game anywhere?
Yes, the badgers and the farmers really, really dislike the badgers. We've got, pictures of where the badgers dig, and we set coyote sets on those badger diggings. They'll go into a bean field or a corn stubble field and just terrorize the fields. And then the farmers have to go and smooth them out and, before they plant anything. But yeah, the badgers are a hindrance for them. They dislike them a lot. I'll say that. And we each caught a couple this year. The one I caught was your average size, probably 10 pounds, 10, 12 pounds. The gentleman I went with, Mark Earl, he's our MUCC director. He caught one that was 21 pounds, and it was looked like a pillow off of your bed. That's how wide it was.
Oh, see, they're not as big as I thought they were then. They must be one of those critters has a lot of fur. It just makes them look bigger.
They do. They have a lot of fur, a lot of fat, similar to their body is, I want to call it squishy, like a raccoon, similar to a raccoon. But they can really do a lot of damage on farmlands.
Are they mean? In ditches. Are they mean? They have this reputation of being pretty ferocious.
We've pulled them out of a hole that where they dug a hole and got into it. They'll snarl a little bit like that, but they're not as vicious. They don't. Out of all the animals I've ever trapped, probably the most ferocious or vicious, I would say, is a gray fox.
Really?
And yes, when you catch a coyote or a red fox or a raccoon, they want to go on the other side of the catch circle. But a gray fox wants to just tear you up. He wants to eat you. They're not when you see them out in the woods hunting or bow hunting or something, they're going to go the other way. But when they're in a trap, they want a piece of you.
You talked about these badgers causing damage, and I've told this story here on the show several times. But we had a couple of beavers on the pond behind the house, and they were doing what beavers do. But my goodness, did they cause a lot of damage in a short amount of time before I called in a trapper, and he took them out of there. But it's amazing what these things can do. Yes,
and that's where people who are not familiar with the destruction that animals can cause, they think of a beaver. Oh, they're just so cute and they're furry, but when you see the trees they cut down and the flooding that they can cause and the damage they can cause, you ask any county, drain commissioner, and they'll tell you, that's an ongoing concern is to control these beavers. We don't want to eradicate any species. We want to manage them, and doing that, just to control the population, so they don't flood roads and back up, onto creeks and rivers onto farmers, fields and flood part of their fields, or in your case, homes, the yards and your frontage can be damaged or flooded by beavers. So
it was damaged, all right. It was damaged. They took a lot of trees down. I'd look out there at night and go, oh, there's some beautiful trees there. Wake up in the morning and they're gone. But we got them. We got them out of there. Hang tight, Joe. We're talking with Joe Velchansky, who is the president of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, MTPC. I think it's com. I'm going to verify this. Michigan Trappers. MTPCA.com, MTPCA.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, more with Joe about, the role of trapping today, why it's necessary, how traps work. Is it inhumane? Well, of course not, but not everybody knows that. And how you might get involved in trapping as well. Coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. I know you're not putting in food plots right now, but it's not too early to start thinking about the springtime food plot planting season, how you want to address it, maybe things you want to do differently, things you want to improve on. I highly recommend Rich Grazan and Michigan-based family-owned Killer Food Plots. Check them out online at killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. And keep an ear out for the monthly Killer Food Plots podcast. Right now, we're talking with Joe Velchansky, who is the president of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association. Joe, you brought up something before the break that I want to follow up on. And this is important for people to realize. Trappers don't want to wipe out the population. That's not your goal, is it?
No, it's not. We just want to manage them and control the population. It's that simple.
How do you do that, Joe? What types of traps do you use?
So it depends on what animal you're going to be taking. Let's say coyotes, for instance. Coyote and fox, we use what's called a coil spring trap. And they come in different sizes. You'll hear people talk about a 1.5, a 2.5, an MB550, an MB650. Those are just different size traps, Mike. And the 1.5 is a 4.5 inch jaw spread. MB550 is about a 5-inch jaw spread. They're not very big, I've put my hand in every one of them. Does it hurt? Sure, it stings a little bit. When you were a kid and your friend or your brother or your sister would snap you with a rubber band, that's what it feels like when you get pinched by a trap. But it's only a holding device. It's not going to maim the animal. It's not going to cut their skin. It's not going to break their legs. It won't. It just won't. It's a holding device. And it has swivels on it. There's a chain attached. It's staked and anchored to the ground. The animal can roll around. It can flip around, and it won't break its leg. The animals don't chew their feet off like people say.
Yep.
But it's there until the trapper comes to either harvest it, or if it's a small female red fox and they want to let it go, they can let it go unharmed. And biologists throughout the country use traps to trap animals, to tag them, to do research and radio collar them and check for disease and stuff like that. So it's a very, very useful tool for us. It's not cruel. And that's one, now we have some other traps, like you talked about beaver, for instance. One of the preferred traps for me for beaver is what it's called a body gripping trap, or a counterbear, and that's a killer trap, and those are used underwater, and the animal swims through it and gets caught right there. But those are safe because there's no domestic animals are going to be around there. Those are pretty much for the target animal, if that makes sense.
No, it does, and I didn't realize this till maybe you or somebody else told me. I thought, well, to keep the peace in the neighborhood, we could live trap those beavers. But I found out you can't relocate beavers because you're just moving the problem from one area to another. So you have to take them out. Yes.
And as much as I hate to say it, people think, can you just remove it for me? Well, then you're just going to create that problem
somewhere else. Yeah.
And, it's not fair to the other person. So beavers are North America's largest rodent, and rodents, as we know, can populate very quickly. And so managing those and taking them out, especially in suburban areas, it's we encroached on their territory. We built houses where beavers used to be, but we want to keep our houses and we want to keep our subdivisions and we want to keep everything, without getting damaged. So we have to manage them, and there is no shortage of beavers throughout the state.
Oh man, they're all over the place these days. Which is I guess that's a conservation success story. That again, I go back to when I was a kid growing up on the west side of the state. I never saw one. Now they're all over the place. So that, even though it creates some problems, it is good that we have a good, viable, healthy population. And the thing about trapping, Joe, that I find so interesting too is you guys and gals put so much work into this in the field. But when you do decide to harvest an animal and you bring it back to the house or the shed or the shop or whatever, the job is just getting started then.
Exactly. And I've been working out in the fur shed since I got back from Kansas, putting up fur. And I'm trying to get it ready for, we have a fur sale in Kalamazoo this weekend, and at the DNR Sports Center in Kalamazoo. Trappers and callers can bring their fur and sell it in an auctions type setting where multiple buyers bidding on it. But it's a process. When you get the animal, you have to take it home, like you said, and take it to your fur shed and skin it out and flesh it, stretch it, dry it, however you want to do it, and make it ready for sale. Or if you want to send them out to have them tanned, and I'm looking at my wall right now. I've got beaver, skunk, fox, coyote hanging on the wall. Or you can make garments out of them, and there's so many things that you can do once you harvest that animal.
I suspect nobody's doing it these days to get rich on, though. I mean, fur prices are not great, are they?
No. Well, I'm gonna give you a little a shocker here. The highest valued one really this year, I shouldn't say highest, but the one that spiked is skunks. Skunks are at our December fur sale at Jay's Sporting Goods in Clare. I believe the highest one was $65 for a skunk, and there was several that went for $40 and $50. It's just supply and demand. Coyotes are down. Beavers have lowered the price a little bit. Mink is starting to have a little bit of an uptick. Raccoons, they're sellable, but you're, like you said, you're not going to get rich off of it. But it is one outdoor. Oops, go ahead.
No, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm so fascinated by this. As you're talking, so many questions are coming to my mind. What's the most challenging critter in Michigan to trap?
For a lot of people, it can be the bobcat. I live in Zone 3, so our season is very short. We have ample of bobcats around here, but they're not. They don't make their patterns like coyotes do or fox do, so they're kind of challenging. There's plenty of bobcats around. Coyotes can be real tricky to catch. At certain times, if you leave too much scent around, or if you encroach, if it's too tight of an area, they may not want to go there. I like to catch my coyotes on the edge of croplands and stuff, edge of hedgerows where they're hunting for their food. But I'd say for me it'd be a toss up, flip of the coin between a coyote and a bobcat would be the most challenging, I would say.
On the other end of the spectrum, what's a very easy critter for, say, somebody to break into the sport of trapping? What's an easy one to start with?
If someone was just wanting to get started, I would suggest raccoons. There's plenty of raccoons around, and they're fairly easy to catch. You can use the simplest baits. You can make your own bait, or you can buy, already made baits. And they're not hard to catch. They're not hard to put up. You can catch them, outside of your barns. You can catch them in the wood lots, They're just about everywhere, and they're easy to put up. They're easy to skin, and they're plentiful. That's for sure. So I would go with raccoons.
How long does this process? Okay, so you trap an animal. You decide this is one you're gonna harvest. You're gonna kill it. You're gonna bring it back to the shop. Then how long is the process from the time you bring this critter into your shop until you're sending out not a tanned, but a processed fur?
Okay, so if I bring a raccoon into my shop today at 11 a.m., it takes me about, I'm slow, I'm not in a hurry. It takes me about 10 minutes to skin that raccoon out, and then I'll put it on a fleshing beam and flesh it, which means scrape and push all the fat and gristle and connective tissue off the skin, off the hide. That takes me about 15 minutes, and then I'll put it on a board, a wooden stretching board, and I pull it tight, but I don't overstretch it, and I pin it using push pins. So probably from start to finish for one raccoon is probably about a half hour for me per raccoon, and that's about average for me, I guess.
And then how long does it have to dry?
In my fur shed, I have a wood stove, so I try and keep the wood stove going every day. It takes about 4 or 5 days before you want to pull it off the stretcher, and in that time, you'll see the leather or the skin. It looks like it's sweating. What it is, it's that fat and grease coming out of the hide. And I use an old towel or an old T-shirt and wipe that grease off there about every 2 days. And usually about 4 or 5 days, you can pull it off the stretcher, and it's ready to be, sold, or you can mail it to a tannery or send it to a tannery and have it, tanned. All mine are called garment tan, so they're very soft and flexible. So you could hang them, drape them over your couch, hang them on the wall, make a hat out of them, whatever you want to do.
And where is the biggest market? Are we still sending our Michigan furs over to Russia and overseas and stuff?
So we don't send anything to Russia now. We haven't since the Obama administration.
Okay.
And this is how our raccoons can play a global part of a global commodity. We used to send almost all of our raccoons to Russia, but since the first invasion of Ukraine by Russia, Obama put sanctions on Russia, so we're not trading with them anymore, especially with fur. But they do go other places. They can go to China, they can go to Greece, they can go wherever, and be sold and made into garments.
I think it's fascinating that our Michigan critters end up across the world like that, and I think it's fascinating, Joe, that you and people like you in the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association are doing what you are to control wildlife populations, and more importantly, to keep this tradition of trapping alive. So I appreciate it, Joe. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk again. Well, we'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, another member of the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association. His name is Merl Jones, but we're going to talk about year-round coyote hunting here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us on the other side of the state in Taos, WIOS, 1480 AM and 106.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Hammond Drives and Equipment. Boy, if you need something to keep your business in business, I can't recommend the folks at Hammond strongly enough. They're in Freeland, but they do business across the state. Check them out online at hammondeqp.com. That's hammondeqp.com. It's important to work with good people. I mean, there's a lot at stake, right? And I can't think of a finer group of people than the folks at Hammond Drive and Equipment, hammondeqp.com. Speaking of good people, and we just met another one of them a few minutes ago. the folks at the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association. Now, we just had a conversation with the group president, Joe Velchansky, talking about trapping. But the thing about this group is they are not just trappers, they are trappers and predator callers. Hence the name, Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, Michigan MTPCA.com. Merl Jones is kind of the PR guy of the group, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Merl, welcome. How are you?
Good. Mike, how are you doing today?
I am doing real good. Had a real nice conversation with Joe. But let's change gears a little bit and talk with you. What's on your mind right now, Merl?
Cold.
Cold? Yeah, cold.
It's cold. We've got a coyote hunting tournament this weekend out of DNR Sports over here in Kalamazoo. It's a 2-night event, and I'm getting geared up for that. And I must say, it's hard to get enthused about it with this kind of cold.
Well, and the forecast for this weekend looks just absolutely brutal.
Yeah, it does. I know. I like to think that I grew up a farm boy and a firefighter, and I like to think that I can deal with that kind of stuff. But I gotta tell you, I'm starting to get. I think my age is starting to show.
Well, you know what? I can relate to that because I can certainly relate to that because I'm not nearly as tough as I used to be, and the cold does get to me. But speaking of coyotes here, there was an interesting thing that came up at the latest NRC Natural Resources Commission meeting, and I look at it as a victory for folks like you, Merl.
Thank you for that. It is a victory for folks like us, but more importantly, it's a victory for everyone. It's a victory for every sportsman in Michigan, every outdoorsman. And even more importantly than that, it's a victory for our natural resources. And on the face, it looks like that we gained back 3 months of coyote hunting season, and it really was not about 3 months of coyote season. That was just the subject that brought up the bigger subject of Proposal G and managing our resources appropriately for the appropriate reasons. And so it is a victory in quite a few ways, yes.
Well, Proposal G was voted on by the people of Michigan many years ago and called for sound scientific wildlife management practices. As background here, you know this, but this is background for our listeners. It's been 2 years now. It seems 2 years, maybe a year and a half. The NRC Natural Resources Commission, seemed to ignore that and decided to stop coyote hunting during the whelping season, the puppy season, because they thought it presented it didn't look good to the non-hunting public. Well, you guys, I think if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, you and MUCC sued the NRC, and now, some 2 years later, they finally corrected that mistake. So, yeah, I see it as a victory, and I say congrats to you guys for working so hard to right this wrong, Merl.
Well, thank you again, and it is a victory in we did take them to court. Unfortunately, the court opinion was not favorable to our position. That's another subject. The courts actually essentially said we were right, but then based upon that, saying that you couldn't use social and political perceptions, they chose to disregard. It was the only use of the word disregard in the entire 66-page court opinion. They chose to disregard our evidence of the use of social and political perception. So that didn't go well. But that being said, I think the victory is actually even a larger victory, because over the course of this, the commission, which has now changed, obviously, there's different members on the commission now.
Thank God.
Thank God, yes. But through our diligent work with them, and they recognized the concerns, and they chose to act on those concerns appropriately. Instead of being told by the court that they had to, they voluntarily recognized the reality of the situation, and they took the appropriate action. So to me, that's even a bigger win than if they had to have Dad tell them.
Well, it is, and you're being very gracious, Merl, and I get it, and I congratulate you once again on that. But you, the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, among others, you made it known that you would not just stand back, and watch a governing body like the NRC make an obviously wrong move, and it has been rectified. And the folks at the Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, among others, and you, Merl Jones, are to be credited. So nice job on that. MTPCA.com. Thanks, Merl. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. You can hear us. Let's go to Traverse City, WTCM 580 AM, and north of the bridge, let's go to Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Now, you know this by now, but I'll just remind you, the way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. You can send me a question that you want me to answer directly, or maybe you want me to pass it along to somebody that I might have more access to, maybe somebody in MUCC or DNR that I might be able to reach easier than you can. And the best way to get these questions to me is to send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Please, and just in general, people tend to want to send me social media messages, and I hopefully will see those, but I can't guarantee it. Best way to reach me, hands down, good old-fashioned email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. And that's exactly what Clifford Moran did. Now, Cliff is a guy who joins us religiously every time we do do a live stream, whether it's a behind the mic segment from the studios Wednesday mornings at 8:45, or the now world famous Wednesday Night Lives every Wednesday night at 7. Cliff is always there with us, and he has a very, very good question this week. And again, he sent it to me via email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. He says, Mike, I have a question that I know you will not know, but you might know someone who can answer it. And here's the question. I have a friend who in the past made a bad choice. That bad choice got him in trouble, and he was convicted of a felony. He did his time, and now he's back home for some time now. He loves to deer hunt. But due to the felony, he can only use a bow or a crossbow. I saw something online that he might be able to use a muzzleloader. As we know, if it's if it's on the internet, it must be true. He says, now this is because a muzzleloader is considered a primitive weapon and doesn't require a background check. I'd love for him to be able to maybe enjoy the hunt and be able to reach out a little further to fill his tags. Can you get an answer on this for me, please? Cliff, excellent question. I figured I knew the answer on this because somewhere in the past I had dealt with this before. Somebody had asked me, and I think I had looked it up. But here is the answer from the Michigan DNR. A muzzleloader under federal law is not a firearm, but it is under state law. Therefore, a felon cannot possess or use a muzzleloader in Michigan. Again, a muzzleloader under federal law is not a firearm, but it is under state law. So a felon cannot possess a muzzleloader here in Michigan. Now, as a caveat, there are some options depending on the felony. He could petition the court to have that expunged. Now, Cliff, I don't know the details on your buddy's situation there, but that might be an option depending on the felony. He could petition the court to have it expunged. So, unfortunately, Cliff, your buddy is limited to a bow, a crossbow, a recurve, archery tackle. He cannot use a muzzleloader, but I think that is an absolutely excellent question. And it does raise a bigger picture, right? A bigger question. If somebody, as a kid you made a mistake, or as a young person you made a mistake. Look, we've all made mistakes. Sometimes those mistakes don't get you into a whole lot of trouble, and sometimes they do get you into a lot of trouble. But if you did your time, if you paid your time, if time has gone by and you've proven yourself to be a good citizen, yeah, wouldn't it be nice to be able to not have to be held accountable for things you did when you were young? I'm glad that Charlie and I were having this discussion earlier. As young, especially guys, right? Young guys, we all do dumb things. And I'm glad that a lot of the dumb things that I did as a kid don't come back to haunt me now. But unfortunately, that is the law. That is the way it is. A muzzleloader in Michigan is considered a firearm, and a convicted felon cannot be in possession of or use a firearm for any purpose, including hunting. So thank you, Cliff, for that question. I do appreciate it. Cliff sent me that question via email to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And as always, a big thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union for making each week's Ask Avery question possible. They make this segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That is securitycu.org. We will take a break here now for the top of the hour. Coming up in hour number 3 this week, switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about wintertime squirrel hunting, which in itself is kind of an interesting pastime because it's not one that was always available here in Michigan. Again, when I was a kid growing up on the west side of the state, squirrel season ended, what was it? Did it end November 14th or did it end January 1st? But it was not available during the wintertime. And here's something that certainly wasn't available: using dogs to hunt squirrels with. How cool is that? We'll talk with Rick Hobbs of the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association, and then we'll wrap up the show with wild game chef extraordinaire. And I know he has a walleye recipe for us this week, and it's a walleye recipe that I have video of, so I'll be able to post that online. So stick around, a few more minutes, top of the hour. Rick Hobbs and Dixie Dave coming up in hour 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is Mike Avery, the big guy. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. And welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on broadcast stations across our great state of Michigan. And this is certainly a Michigan-based show. I make no excuses about that. I make no apology for that at all. One time I saw something online about, it's a decent show, but it's all Michigan-based. Well, yeah, it is all Michigan-based. I am a Michigan guy. I have been my entire life. I've grown up in this state. I've spent my career in this state. Have I done some traveling earlier on in my career? Absolutely. When I had the TV show, yeah. Went all over the place. And it was a lot of fun. Africa, Alaska, Mexico, all across Canada, all the states here. Not all the states, but many of the states here in this country. Yeah, what a riot. But it always felt good to get home. I think our state is... I don't know. I'm a Michigan fanboy, and I make no apologies for it. I think this is a wonderful state. Is everything perfect here? Of course not. Could things be better? Absolutely. Could we be doing maybe some management practices differently? Sure. But boy, we got a lot of good things going on here. I mean, we've got some wonderful resources. We have some great conservation success stories in our state, and we have just a wealth of outdoor recreational opportunities. I mean, you look at this weekend right now. Now, you're going to have to be tough to be out there this weekend, because as we're sitting here in the studio midweek, it's pretty nasty out, and the forecast for this weekend is absolutely brutal. But if you're tough, and if you can take it, think about the things you can do this weekend. You could be out ice fishing. You could be out, along ice fishing, spearing. But you know what? If you're tucked in a nice warm shanty with a heater, it's not going to be that bad. You could be out predator hunting. Yeah, that's going to be a little bit cold. You could be out rabbit hunting. You could be out any number of things, right? One thing that might not be on your radar screen, at least it wasn't on mine, is to go out and do some squirrel hunting. I don't think the squirrel season used to extend past the first of the year, but now it does, and that's created a whole wintertime recreational opportunity for guys like Rick Hobbs. Rick is with the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. You can find him on Facebook, but he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Hey, Rick, welcome back. How have you been?
I'm doing well, Mike. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm doing just trying to stay warm like most everybody else is. It's starting to feel like a good old-fashioned Michigan winter, isn't it?
It certainly is. A lot of people, we've had some mild winters, and I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten what Michigan winter's really like.
I think I was one of them, and I grew up here.
Well, even getting old, the older I get, the better I handle the cold and the less I handle the heat.
Really?
So I'm loving it. Oh, yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. This is my favorite time of year.
I am so glad to hear that.
To admit I ain't right.
I'm not saying you're not right, but I'm so glad to hear that. And have you been out squirrel hunting lately?
Absolutely. My wife, my hunting partner, and myself have been out quite a bit. We've been doing very well, treeing a lot of squirrels, not taking many. But I thought of this yesterday when you contacted me. Just past Saturday, I attended an event at the Belding Sportsman's Club. It's their annual youth hunt. I don't know if you've ever heard of this event.
I have.
You have?
I have. I have heard of it. And any event to get kids involved in the outdoors is a wonderful event. How did it go, Rick?
Well, it was my first time I've attended it. My son never misses it, and I'm very glad I went. If I had to give it a rating from 1 to 10, I'd have to get it an 11.
Wow.
It's put on by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, the Flat River State Game Area biologists and employees there. The Belding Sportsman's Club hosted it. They had a couple of Michigan conservation officers there. They were very proud to say this year was their best attendance with 54 youth hunters. It's strictly a youth hunt. Myself and a number of other people who had squirrel dogs take a cast of kids out. They have a lot of state land there. The weather was marginal at best, about like today, downstate, windy and snowing. But the results were outstanding. We all treat a lot of squirrels. The kids get to do all the hunting. We just handle the dogs. I would like to praise the membership of the Belding Sportsman's Club for hosting it. They provide all the food. They had a bunch of very dedicated, hardworking guys there that cook breakfast. We all split up, go out for 2 hours of hunting, and then return. They provided pizza for lunch and handed out some nice prizes. Every kid got very nice prizes. The Michigan Squirrel Dog Association, the National Wild Turkey Federation, I know were a couple of the contributors to the prizes, and it was just a great event. I would strongly recommend it.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up and acknowledging those folks, because any group that is dedicated and works towards getting kids involved in the outdoors and continuing this outdoor lifestyle, man, I'm all behind them. So thank you for that, Rick. How many?
Oh, me too.
54 kids. So how many dogs did it take to take care of 54 young hunters?
There was quite a few guys there, actually, from all over the state. Myself, we had family members. My wife and I took a granddaughter. My son and daughter-in-law had their son, and then they had some friends that had two kids, 8 and 12. And I'd say the average cast was anywhere from 4 to 6 people. So, I mean, you can do the math and figure it out. It's a very busy event, but very well organized. There was a young man, I'm not sure his name, who works at the Flat River State Game Area. He's a field biologist there. Just a young guy, but you could tell. It appeared to me like he was a guy that pretty much, orchestrated everything and did most of the speaking, and he just did a great job. I would strongly recommend it.
So for your family, squirrel hunting with dogs is kind of a family tradition for you guys.
Yes, it is. Yep. Yeah, we do a lot of hunting together, and my son has 3. I have 2 dogs, and 2 of his are getting to the age now where this kind of weather they really can't get out. But he has a younger dog, and so we just have a great time.
Rick, where did this come from? Because, again, I go back to when I was a kid growing up in Michigan. We couldn't hunt squirrels in the wintertime, and certainly nobody hunted them with dogs. Was this a southern thing that migrated north, or how did this all happen?
Well, I think the last few times we've talked, I've mentioned off and on I've hunted with hounds my entire life, from squirrel to bear, cat, bobcat, a lot of coon hunting. So, I mean, I did it at a very young age. I was born, my dad was running beagles at the time. He raised and trained Brittany Spaniels. So, yeah, it's, I guess you could say I'm a product of the environment. So all right. So I understand running hounds for bears and coyotes. How is running your curs and your feist for squirrels different or the same? It's almost identical to coon hunting, Mike. It's, you turn the dogs loose. We use the Garmin tracking collars for safety. The dogs go out, they tree. The difference is most of your squirrel hunting breeds don't bark on the track. Some do. And they tree the squirrel, and you go, in our case with my wife and I, as I'd mentioned before, is the one that hunts with me the most. And most of the time we just leave them. Now, this time of year, you'll get a lot of dens and nests where they'll cover a lot of distance this time of year. So,
how is it snow and cold, a dog getting a track in conditions like that? Is it easier or harder than warmer temps?
Well, you'll find that the feist and the curs, the squirrel, mainly the feist, are more eyes and ears. To some extent, noses. Some of the cur dogs are, my son prefers cur dogs. They have a lot better noses than the feist do, typically. I mean, you've got your exceptions. So, it's really not boilerplate by any means. Each dog has its own characteristic. And, I think genetics is a huge factor. I know I've been very, picky about where my dogs come from as I get them as pups.
Hang tight, Rick. We'll talk more about that. I'm going right into a break, though, so I got to let you go for now. But hang tight, because we'll talk more about that when we come back, about the genetics of choosing dogs and just the finer points of squirrel hunting with dogs in general with Rick Hobbs of the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. You can find those guys on Facebook as Michigan Squirrel Dog Association, which makes complete sense, doesn't it? And Rick's one of those guys who's like, he doesn't care what the weather's like. He's going to go out and he's going to hunt squirrels, and I appreciate that. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. Just up the coast in Manistee, WMLQ 97.7 FM. And let's go north of the bridge. Let's go to Escanaba, the Riviera of the North, WCHT 600 AM, 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine. Whoa, hey, what was that sound, Avery? Let's hear it again. Oh, yeah, that's the sound of your Rapid River knife locking back open, isn't it? Yep. You know that by now, though. I give you that sound every week because each week as I reach into my pocket, I think about how proud I am to be able to work with this Michigan-based, family-owned Upper Peninsula company that is Rapid River Knife Works, handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The knives come with a lifetime guarantee. If you ever need them resharpened, if you ever need them refurbished, if you ever need them repaired, if you abuse the knife and break it, you know what I'm talking about. We've all taken a knife and used the tip of it as a screwdriver, and sometimes you get away with it and sometimes you don't. Well, if you're honest with Chris Durson at Rapid River and say, I screwed up and here's what I did, he's going to fix your knife for you at no charge at all. I really enjoy working with these folks, and I'm very pleased to have the Mike Avery signature knife, that the profits from this knife go to Outdoor Driven, designed to get first responders and vets on outdoor adventures to help them deal with some of the stress and trauma they've accumulated over the years in their professions. The website, rapidriverknifeworks.com. That's rapidriverknifeworks.com. If you're looking for a really, truly cool experience, stop by the showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River, and you'll see what I mean. rapidriverknifeworks.com. Right now, talking with Rick Hobbs of the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. You can find them on Facebook. Rick, before the break, you were talking about how you're kind of picky. You're kind of choosy with the genetics of your dogs. Tell me more about that.
Well, the fights that I have are they come from a good line of champions. I must say they're not just hunting dogs. They're very intelligent, almost too intelligent. They're great pets, good in the house. But they know as soon as you grab the Garmin bag with the trackers or a pair of hunting pants, it's showtime. And you know, they can go from sitting by the wood burner to going out in weather like this, and they're just great dogs, real good dogs. You find the curs, I think, are a little hardier. They're generally a little bigger.
Mm-hmm. Do you have to teach?
More like hounds.
Do you have to teach a dog how to hunt squirrels, or do they just know this? They just know it.
It's built into them. The best thing you can do for any hunting dog is time in the woods. It doesn't matter whether it's a pointer or a tree dog or a beagle. And I must mention too, it wasn't just squirrel hunting that at the youth hunt. They had a number of. They also had rabbit hunters too. Guys that brought beagles and took kids out that wanted to hunt rabbits. I failed to mention that, but. It helps if you get an older trained dog to start them out with, you know, so they know what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, beagles and bunnies.
I know, like we've talked.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Like we've talked about previously, the nice thing about it is you don't have to take everything. I mean, you don't have to shoot every squirrel you see. The limit's 5. Once again, this time of year, you get a lot of squirrels that'll make it to their dens or nests, usually dens this time of year. In the state of Michigan, I think just about everywhere, it's illegal to disturb in a den or a nest. But I mean, we're leaving squirrels right out in the wide open. So there's some days we may only take 1 or 2, and some days we don't take any. So the nice thing about it for the kids that are just starting out hunting is it presents a still target, exposure to the dogs. It's really a great place to start for kids.
What's the difference between a squirrel den and a squirrel nest?
A den is a hole in a tree. just any kind of hole in it could be an old tree, or some species of mainly deciduous trees are more susceptible to have holes, they're den capable for squirrels.
Yep.
And yes, we've all seen them, the big blobs of leaves and sticks that they build in the trees.
Gotcha.
I'm actually sitting in my truck now, and I can see a bunch of them in the wood line now. So.
And do they, forgive my ignorance here, do they have multiple nests, or is there just one that they use every night? Or how does that work?
Not sure about that.
See, you don't know either, so I don't feel so bad.
Nope, I'm not sure about that. Well, I've had some, a couple of older there's not many people older than me nowadays, let's put it that way, but back growing up, that said a lot of times they'll pass their specific hole in a tree is theirs, and other squirrels won't attempt to get in that. Now, that's just folklore. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. Just coming from other hound hunters.
No, but the folklore and the stuff we hear from these old hunters who have observed Mother Nature and the critters they've been chasing for years and decades, I find it fascinating. And I don't know, Rick, I believe there's usually a grain of truth in there somewhere. For it to get repeated for so many years, there must be some basis in truth.
Absolutely. And, in all phases of hunting and fishing at my age, I'm going to admit I have a lot of it too. I mean, for outdoor activities in the state of Michigan, I don't think there's anything that replaces experience.
No.
No. Yep. Experience brings knowledge.
It does, and wisdom, and I would like to think that I get smarter, or not smart. I get more knowledge as I get older, but sometimes I feel like I'm going the other direction.
Yeah, believe me, I got the video and the T-shirt on that one.
So tell me about the process of running dogs for squirrels. Do you just pull up to a woodlot, let the dogs go? Do you wait till you see squirrels? How does this work?
Yeah, if you pull up to a woodlot, I hunt both private and state land here in Lenawee County in southern Michigan. Once again, they have the collars on them. When we're hunting state land, for example, I will lead them back to the designated areas, hunting areas. Your parking lots, you'll see the signs on state property where, there's safety zones. And you cut them loose. My male, for example, he just turned 5. He will go, if he doesn't tree a squirrel, 400 to 500 yards. Sometimes more. I've had him go as far as 800 yards.
Wow.
My little female, she's smaller, and she's going to be 10 in September. She's starting to show her age. And you just wait for him to tree. So, and I'm very fortunate in my training. I make the point very clear that, when they tree, right, wrong, or indifferent, they stay there until I get there and either take a squirrel, walk away from it, or release them from the tree. So,
and you alluded to this earlier, but they're using not just their nose and scent, they're actually visually seeing these squirrels up in the trees.
Yes. We had a couple, it's called timbering, where the squirrels will actually figure their chances for escape are better if they run. And they'll run through the trees. I've had them go as far as 100 yards. And my dogs are both very good at it. They've had a lot of experience, and they're watching them, and they don't lose them. I mean, they have lost them before, and normally when you get that situation, they know where they're going, and they're going to end up in a den. So, and I think it must be mentioned too, and it is not legal to disturb a squirrel in a den or in a nest. So, if someone's not reading the game laws and decides they want to do that, it's not legal.
Yep.
So.
And I feel like, at least you, an experienced squirrel hunter, I feel like maybe you leave more squirrels out there than you actually shoot.
I used to. My wife and I eat a lot of fish, deer, and squirrels. Oh, we leave far more now. We used to eat a lot of squirrels, but now we're eating more fish and venison. So,
if somebody was interested, in a harvest, do you recommend a shotgun or a 22 for squirrel hunting?
for sporting reasons, myself and my family, we're strictly 22s. Now, for example, at this event this weekend, we saw a number of people with shotguns, and that's fine. It's to each his own.
Yeah.
To each his own.
Yep. There are different types of squirrels in Michigan too, right? Do you hunt them differently? Do you find they all will stay in the same woodlot, or do they have their own little niche that they like and they keep the other ones out?
Oh, you see, they pretty much they'll pretty much roam the same areas. I mean, a lot of times, for example, I think we saw 7 at the youth hunt this weekend. We had a few den trees, much fewer than I thought we would get. You go out and you tree 10 or 12 in a day. Where I'm hunting in southern Michigan, you're going to see a mix of fox squirrels, which are the largest, and the grays, which come in the black phases and gray and all kinds of. I have a woodlot, for example, where I get gray squirrels with the most beautiful red tails and mixed red fur in them. It's one place.
Huh.
And other than that, it's just pretty much standard gray squirrels and black squirrels, and you tree a fair amount of red squirrels. And one thing you train your dogs not to mess with is chipmunks.
Well,
they're a pain.
One good thing about squirrel hunting is you're going to have a lot of critters out there. It's not like deer hunting, not like bear hunting or anything else. When you're squirrel hunting, you got a lot of them out there. And Rick, I appreciate. I always enjoy our conversations. I appreciate what you're doing to promote squirrel hunting, in particular with dogs, through the Facebook page, Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. Stay warm, have a good winter, and we'll talk again.
You too, Mike. Thank you very much.
All right, my pleasure. Rick Hobbs of the Michigan Squirrel Dog Association. Find him on Facebook. I think it's very cool. I think any way we can get out and enjoy the outdoors is really cool. We'll take a break. When we come back, a few more thoughts, and then we'll wrap it all up with Chef Dixie Dave Miner. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show. Let's see. What have we got left here? WKBZ in Muskegon, 1090 AM. WTIQ in Manistee, 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. And WSGW in Saginaw, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I am in the studios of WSGW right now, as I am every week for 3 hours to record the show. Here this time with Charlie Root. Now, normally there would be a bunch of people in the parking lot. I mean, I'm talking ladies with their kids and businessmen coming in here during their break, their lunchtime break, and they'll line up in the parking lot. And sometimes, like they'll set little like little picnics and stuff up and just wait for Charlie to leave. And when he comes by, they're chanting, "Charlie, Charlie." Not going to happen today, Charlie. Not going to happen. As I look out the window, although it has quit snowing now, and it is a little bit brighter. I think it's gone through. Yes, it's almost sunshine there. I think the storm has gone through, but it's just too cold, and I don't think people are going to be here, Charlie. So just know that I appreciate you, even though the throngs of fans are not out there to let you know. There are a lot of people that I work with in this radio show that I appreciate so very much. Charlie Rood, John Dent, the affiliate stations, the people at the affiliate stations who take the feeds and who, upload the shows and download the shows and the Outdoor Magazine minutes. And, I really appreciate it. It's not something that I could do on my own without help, and I have plenty of help from good people. So that is much appreciated. I got to be honest, I've also had plenty of help from God, so I give thanks to God for allowing me to be in this situation, this position, this job, if you can call it a job. How do you call it a job? For so many years. I am truly blessed to be able to do something that I enjoy, and I still have a passion for it. Am I as intense and hardcore in my outdoor activities as I used to be? No. Meaning, I'm not as likely to go out on the water of Saginaw Bay or the ice of Saginaw Bay and, stay out there for 8 hours as I would a few years ago when I was younger. Am I as likely to be as hardcore about deer hunting as I was when I was a little bit younger? No. So, that kind of intensity isn't there like it used to be, but my passion and my commitment to this outdoor lifestyle is stronger than ever. I feel like I really want to do whatever I can to do my part to try to encourage people to get outdoors and try to promote this outdoor lifestyle of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping. We're a smaller group than we used to be. And that is very concerning, not just to me, but any conservation group you talk with these days, any hunting organization that you talk with these days. I don't think we can ever get back the number of hunters that we've lost. Can we work hard to slow the decline? Yes. Can we stabilize the decline? If we are extremely lucky. But what choice do we have? We can sit back, not get involved, not work to promote the outdoor causes that we believe in, continue to sit back and be so stupid negative on anti-social media, complain about everything, gripe about everything, or we can look at the situations that are in front of us and say, how can we make it better? How can we change it? And I know that's kind of maybe an oversimplification, but that's kind of the way I look at things these days. You can either try to help or not. Be part of the problem or part of the solution, to use a cliche. And the venues that I have, the opportunities that I have with the podcast, the radio show, some online stuff, some social media. I keep it social. I don't let it go to anti-social media. Just doing what I can because I love this. And I've seen it in my own family. My granddad hunted and fished. My dad hunted and fished. Both are gone now. I hunt and fish. My son James hunts and fishes. My grandkids hunt and fish. I've got a great granddaughter now, and I have no doubt that in a few years she will as well. And that's just in our family. But this is part of our Michigan outdoor heritage. For generations we've been doing this stuff, and it would just be a shame to let it all go because society is changing, and we as hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers didn't care enough about it to get involved and try to protect it in any way that we can. That's my soapbox for this week's show. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. And I know, usually I don't know what Dave has. This week, a little birdie by the name of Dixie Dave told me he's going to do a walleye recipe. And it's a walleye recipe that I have video for. And that makes me very excited because whenever I have video, I post it. And you seem to love that. So this week is walleye. We'll tell you which one after the break with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner as we wrap up this week's Outdoor Magazine show. My name is Mike Avery. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Why do we hunt? Why do we fish? Well, number one, it's fun. It's a great way to relax. It's a great way to exercise our role as stewards of the resource, keep the populations under control. And sometimes at the end of a hunting trip or a fishing trip, there is another reward. It's called wild game or fish. And a great source of protein, tasty meat or fish for our families. And some people think it's tough or it's tricky to figure out how to cook fish or wild game. And you know what? Maybe it is, but wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner makes it look easy, as he has for so many years on the Outdoor Magazine TV show and now the radio show. And he's with us once again. And I do know for a fact that this time around it is a fish recipe as we welcome Dixie Dave. Walleye, if I remember right, Dave.
Yep, it's true. Walleye.
What kind of walleye, though? I didn't let the cat out of the bag that much.
We have nutty walleye with bananas. We did this originally with snapper, but I think we did it for the TV show with walleye. Maybe it's still the snapper.
No, we did it. We did it with walleye because I just recently seen the video, so I know that for a fact.
Great. I was hoping that was the case.
Yep.
It's on page 19 in the cookbook. So this is for 4 portions. You need about 8 ounces of boneless, skinless per person, 2 beaten up eggs. This has a couple of different alcohols in it. So it has Frangelico and banana liquor. And you need a banana per person, a jar of chicken gravy, 2 ounces of sliced blanched almonds, and you want to toast them. Put them in the oven and keep an eye on them so they don't get too brown. A couple ounces of heavy cream, juice of a lime, and a dash of white pepper and flour and olive oil to saute with. So you're going to be doing this in batches because most people don't have a frying pan big enough to hold all of their walleye fillets at one time. So in a large pan, big enough to hold all the ingredients without crowding, you want to dredge the fish in flour, then beaten up eggs, and in the hot pan with a small amount of olive oil, brown the fish on both sides. So when you're done, you want to leave the rib side up facing the diner, and you want to put this in a casserole. And then away from the stove, you want to flambe the Frangelico and the banana liquor. They're both full of sugar, so it's going to really poof up quite a lot. And then what you do is after you peel the bananas, you want to slice it the long way down so that you can be able to place a piece of banana, half a banana on top of the fish, and spoon the chicken gravy all around, as with the lime juice, the pepper, and the heavy cream. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take, after you get this set up like this and you got all the ingredients in it, you want to place the almonds on top of the banana and the fish. And then you want to cover it on the stove top or bake it in the oven. If you're going to put it in a casserole, you're going to bake it in the oven. Most people have a frying pan about big enough for 2 fillets is all. So if you're going to simmer it on the stove and you're only making 2 fillets, that would be good. But if you're going to bake it in the oven, you want to put it in the casserole. And you want to go about maybe 8 to 10 minutes tops. And then take a couple of spatulas. It's probably the average household doesn't have a spatula big enough like a restaurant spatula to take the fish out. And then, so you want to set it up on each plate. And then if you got a little bit of parsley, you can sprinkle a little bit of parsley all around. This one we used to do at the restaurant. We used to get great results for it when we made it for a special. So I hope everybody that tries this is going to enjoy it because it's a great dish. It's a little on the sweet side, not a lot, but it is a great, great dish.
And they not only will enjoy tasting it, they'll enjoy seeing it, as I posted on my Facebook page and Instagram feed this weekend. You mentioned one term that I want to follow up on, though, and I've seen you use this before, but I still don't know exactly what it is. Frangelico. What is that?
It's a liquor flavored alcohol. I think it's hazelnut, and it's really got a great flavor for this dish. So with the banana liquor and the Frangelico, it comes up with just a killer flavor. Like I said, we used to do this at the restaurant, and it went over like gangbusters.
Ah, excellent. So it's a nutty walleye with bananas. It's page 19 of the cookbook. I do have video of this, and I will be posting it so folks can see it online. David,
and this week at just a second. This week at the dish, we're serving the blueberry walleye.
Thank you for that reminder. And the dish being the King's Dish restaurant in Standish. I appreciate you, Dave. Thanks for thanks for working that in. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. If you weren't listening, there'd be no reason to do the show. And then I don't even know. I don't know what I would do. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine Radio. There is also a podcast version of the show. You can hear that on the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, my Facebook page, and most other podcast outlets. And my email address, if you want to talk to me, is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I'd love to hear from you.